Welcome to another episode of Friday Night Videos. I am sitting here this evening with my friend and client, Stacy Lang of Lang Accounting Services. She's been in business 12 years, right? 12
Yep,
years.
12 years.
12 years. So she's over that startup hump that we've seen in the last couple of episodes. And I would love for her to tell you all about that journey. Tell us about starting Lang Accounting Services and where it is now.
Hi, Jeffrey Lynn. I'm super excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me on your Friday Night Video shows. I used to watch Friday Night Videos when I was a kid, and this is exactly the same.
Yay! Not quite. I really should put a music track in there because the video you shared this morning, like wee hours of the morning when we were back and forth on Facebook.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, I miss the 80s too.
Oh my gosh, the 80s were amazing. Yeah, so 12 years. I've been in business for 12 years as of January this year, which is kind of surreal. I started the business kind of on the side. I am an accountant. I'm a CPA. Of course, I do taxes because that's kind of how we all get started in this business is I started by doing taxes on the side. And this is before my official start date of the business. I've actually been doing taxes for 18 years now. I started when I was born.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so I've been doing taxes now for 18 years and started doing it on the side, of course, on top of my regular, full-time job. And then as I started to get more into it, more interested in doing taxes and helping folks with their tax situation, answering questions, and helping people sort of manage their finances in that way. My client base started to grow. I took on some contract work for some other CPAs here in Phoenix, and gradually went from a full-time job to a part-time job so that I could build my side hustle, right, my side business. And then got to the point in my side business that I couldn't work even a part-time job anymore. It was all about growing the business and branching out into different things. So I started out by doing taxes and then grew into doing bookkeeping for small businesses, brought payroll on for small businesses, and just really started focusing more on the small business side and let go of my real job, my W-2 job, and just concentrated on doing this. And that process started about 12 years ago is when I left my part-time job and I've just been doing the business full-time.
How has that been? Has it been, if you look back over those 10 years, has it been the roller coaster that so many people find when they do a small business? Because you have how many employees now, Stacy?
I have 2 employees, a full-time and a part-time, and then 2 part-time contractors.
Right.
So it has been kind of a roller coaster. I'm kind of lucky in the sense that my business is something that is sort of a little bit more demand inelastic. If you remember from economics class, where there's always people that need to have their taxes done. There's always people that need to have their books done. There's always people that need to have their payroll run for their businesses. It's not something that in a lot of cases people feel like they can do without in leaner times. They may, when they start out, they may think to themselves, oh, I'll just do my own bookkeeping. And sometimes that works out great. A lot of times that works out great. And then in a lot of cases too, they say, you know what, this isn't the best use of my time. I'm going to find somebody to do that. And so I am fortunate in the sense of there's always kind of a need for people like me. So it's been less of a roller coaster in that sense, but it's always a roller coaster when when you have a business, when you're in charge of getting the clients, you're in charge of doing all the things, putting the website out there, making the phone calls, getting in touch with clients, doing the actual work, doing the follow-up, you know what I mean? Like all of the things. Yeah. So that piece of it has been probably the typical roller coaster that small businesses seem to have when they get going on their business.
Well, and like you said, there's always demand for it. and there are always people willing to pay for it as well. Unlike
Mm-hmm.
for what you were talking about, even business to business, branding is not always something that you put at the top of the list that needs to be done first
Mm-hmm.
thing. I mean, even you went out initially and got a logo, right? To get you
Yep.
by, rather than building a whole brand. And
Yep.
so it was 10 years into the business before you turn around and said, okay, I'm going to invest in this. I'm going to go this way now. I'm
Yep.
scaling, I'm growing. It's time to ramp up how I look out there. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when we started working together. How
Yeah.
has how has developing a brand after being established in business, and really, because it wasn't even just a refresh of your brand. I mean, we built it from the ground up all over. And how has that changed how you do business, how you feel about your business? Because I know what I think, we've talked about it, and how I've seen you change and grow, but I'd like to hear it from you.
Yeah, it kind of was like putting on my big girl pants, right? So
I love you.
when I started my business, my brand, right? I went to like Office Max and was looking through. I knew I needed business cards, right? Because everyone needs business cards when you have a business, right? So I went to Office Max and I'm looking through their giant binder of business card templates back in those days when it was like binders of things. So I'm like scanning through and I'm like, oh, this is pretty. It has purple in it. I like the color blocking. That's great. That's my new, and it wasn't even a logo. It was a background for a business card template. And then I had a printer that I was working with to print out some promotional things. And I'm like, hey, can you take this sort of color blocking thing and kind of condense it into like a logo? And she did, and she did a great job, and it looked fine, and it worked, and all that kind of thing. But it wasn't really ever a brand. I never really thought about like telling my story as an entrepreneur and sort of connecting with other business owners, my story connecting with their story, and learning how we can help each other. And, I never really thought about it in that way. And then, working with you and actually coming up with like a strategy, and, you were asking me all these sort of weird questions like, what kind of
I've heard
food?
that before. Yeah.
What's that?
I've heard that before. People are like, you ask weird questions.
Yeah, it's just not something you think about. And so it kind of helped me to sort of reframe my story as a business owner.
Good.
And you really like tapped into that, and how I could take that story, and somehow they magically turned into like colors and a design, and and all this stuff, and really feels more cohesive, and really just like I said, like putting on my big girl pants. Like, I've been in business for 12 years. I do really good work for my clients, and I have a team, and being able to sort of, and having like a design, a brand now, is sort of it sort of encompasses all of that into like having like a real business. This isn't like a side hustle, you know what I mean? Like it's a real business. And so to have a brand and a story really helps to sort of solidify that.
I love that. I love that you said it's like putting on your big girl pants.
Yeah.
That's awesome, because that is like the difference I saw in you, was that standing a little taller, being a little more proud, and speaking with your voice, which became your brand voice as well, but like speaking with a more empowered voice to go, yeah, I'm a business owner, get the hell out of the way. Here I am. I got my big girl pants on. I love that.
Watch out, big girl pants coming through.
Big girl pants coming through. That's awesome. So as you have grown the business, the brand has evolved, the business has evolved. What kind of things have you tripped over the years that you would like to share, so that other people don't make the same mistakes? Because we all have our fuck ups. Some of us more than others, some of us bigger ones than others. Tell us about yours.
Well, I've got plenty, so I hope you have lots of time.
Okay.
Just kidding. So yeah, there were a few that I was kind of thinking about sharing. Probably the biggest one, or the one that has kind of the longest term impact on my business, is when I first started out. You always want, sort of something to differentiate yourself, to sort of get clients, because you're not used to getting clients before. You're not sure how that all works and how that happens. So when I started the business, it was like, I can do taxes for pretty inexpensively. I'll say cheap, right? So I can do a good job and not charge very much. And that kind of set the framework for being a discount provider, which in retrospect, I wouldn't necessarily, everything's a learning experience, right? So it was a mistake, but at the same time, it did help me to build my business. But it also created kind of a discount mindset that I had to really work on overcoming, where I can do a really good job and provide a really great value for my clients. I don't have to be the cheap one. I can charge a reasonable amount for both them, the client, and also for myself to run my business with. So I think if you can maybe not skip that early stage of offering a low price point to get your business rolling, if you can't skip it, at least maybe try to condense it a little bit more to sort of get past that as quickly as you can. The more of a knowledge base and experience base that you have, the more you can ramp up past that. I just have to get clients. It doesn't really matter what they pay me. It's all about giving experience and things like that. Like, as soon as you can move past that stage, I recommend doing that.
I agree, because when you position a product with a price point that sets you there, it's harder to overcome that and move beyond it and move out of it than it is to position yourself at an outstanding value, but not undervalued for the quality of work you do from the beginning. And like you said, when you're starting up, you're grasping for straws. You want the business and you want the chance to do the good work for people and get it coming through and doing it. But the thing is, you're working 10 times harder for the same amount of money when you could have been doing fewer projects well for fewer people.
Yeah. And that kind of branches into the other sort of, things that I tripped over along the way, which
That's
is
funny that you want me to say it for you?
Yeah, I'll say it. You say it. Yeah.
What other fuck ups would you like us to talk about?
Other fuck ups. I can say it too. Yeah, it's kind of like being that sort of discount provider, bargain. It also makes it difficult to do one of my other fuck ups, which was not hiring soon enough. So keeping everything for myself, making myself in charge of all aspects of the business. So with like tax returns, there's things like, sometimes there's like just plain old data entry, and so I was doing all of the data entry, and I was doing all the printing and all the compiling and all the stapling and all the scanning, you know what I mean? Like, because I had such a low price point, it made it difficult for me to bring somebody on to take care of a lot of those things so that I could concentrate on the things that only I could do. Things like having the conversations with the client and providing the education to the client and that kind of thing. I was busy doing admin stuff, and I didn't have the time or mental energy to grow kind of the piece of the business that was my piece, and having a lower price point made it easy to put off doing the hiring that I needed to do in order to grow the business. So it all kind of spirals together. And then another fuck up is really just feeling like I needed to say yes to everybody and everything, taking on projects that didn't fall under my zone of genius, or what was the best use of my skill set, what was like the best fit for us as the business, and then for the client themselves. Like, taking on all the work that I didn't necessarily need to be taking on, and not listening to my gut of like, this particular client is not a great fit, or this particular industry is not a great fit. That would be something too, is if I were to give advice to a new business owner, is you don't have to say yes to everything. I know it feels like you do, but if you do, that actually limits you from growing in the direction that you really want to be growing, or, finding that right industry or that right type of client or fit of type of work and that kind of thing.
That makes complete and total sense, especially as we are promoting right now your shift, which kind of came about as we worked through the brand, that you wanted to move away from just personal taxes, churning and burning, and move into helping entrepreneurs get their arms wrapped around their business and their money to be profitable, so that they wouldn't be impoverished business owners, right? And as
Yep.
you have more and more put on your big girl pants and gone in that direction, that has been a scary shift. But don't you think that's as a direct result of some of those fuck ups you're talking about?
Yeah, as I've grown in the business and tried a bunch of different things as far as like, which direction do I want to go to? I really wanted to be more of a partner with my clients, like really kind of working with them on how they could make good decisions in their business and how they can grow in directions, and making sure that they have the financial background to be able to do that, the financial base that they needed to be able to make those decisions in their business. And that's really where my passion is, and I'm really starting to see that more and more. Working with small businesses more closely, instead of, okay, here's your taxes, see you next year kind of thing. Really working with them a little bit more hand in hand to grow their business. So, yeah.
I love that. What other, you said you had a few that you wanted to talk about. Any other big stumbling blocks?
Those are really kind of the main ones, like, being the chief provider right out of the gate, having that stage last, just a little bit too long, and not hiring soon enough, and not concentrating on the right, feeling like I needed to say yes to everything,
Okay.
So yeah, now I'm working on being more selective with my clients, working with folks that really see the value in what we do, which is help them have the information about their businesses in order to make those good decisions for themselves, and to grow their businesses how they want to.
Cool. Tell me a little bit about, since we have a little bit of time, tell me a little bit about your Profit First initiative. Now that are you already certified, or are we this close?
I'm already certified.
Yay.
I officially certified in September of last year. So this really came about. It's funny how everything just sort of goes hand in hand with each other. Like you think you're doing this thing, and then all of a sudden this thing comes along and you're like, oh my God, this is perfect. So as I was growing my knowledge base and my skill set, I was thinking like, I need to be a better value for my clients, instead of just, here's your books, buy, here's your taxes, buy, like really being more consultative with them, a little bit more hand in hand with them. And then my sister, who's also a business owner, had read this book called Profit First, and she introduced me to it, and she said, this is how I need you to be keeping my books from now on. This is what I want to do. And my first thought was like, what do you
I'm telling Abby to watch that.
She knows. My first thought was like, what are you having me do now? Oh, what's this nonsense, And she actually gave me the book for Christmas, and I read it, and I was like, oh my God, like immediately I was hooked. And like the first thing I did, was like chapter 3 or whatever. And they're like, okay, first thing you need to do to start this process is like, do this, transfer money into this bank account. And so I immediately did it. Like I just got so excited about the whole concept, and I could just see like what a game changer it could be for businesses with managing cash flow and making sure that their taxes were covered and making sure that they themselves, this is like such a huge thing for entrepreneurs, is we're always the last ones to get paid. We make sure everything else is covered and everyone else is covered, and oh, then maybe I might get a paycheck, you know, but doing profit first is really a way, it's literally profit first, like making sure that you as the entrepreneur are being taken care of so that you can live your lifestyle, keep your small business, you know, grow it, hire people, you know, pay your taxes, not have to stress out about, you know, where your paycheck is coming from or where that next dollar is coming from. So it all kind of coalesced together of this profit first methodology. And I bought into it just like hook, line, and sinker, and got certified, went through the certification process, and officially got certified in September. And then also at that same time, I joined their mastery program to kind of just provide that next level of service for clients and in that within the profit first framework. So I'm super excited about it.
Good. And how have you seen Profit First help your clients so far?
It really feels empowering. You know, a lot of times, especially, you know, maybe in like more creative businesses that aren't sort of numbers focused, there tends to be a lot of fear, it seems like, around like taxes and finances and bookkeeping and where's my money, and you know, there tends to be a lot of fear and discomfort around it, and so and sometimes even like the head in the sand kind of thing. I don't want to know how much I owe, so I'm going to put off my taxes as long as possible, which really just makes the situation worse. So I've really found it empowering for clients, because they really, it kind of puts their finances in a framework that is probably like more user friendly. It kind of works with how your brain works. You know, if you look at a financial statement like a P&L and you're like, oh wait, there's all this money down here on the bottom line where with my net income, but yet I got no money. Like, where's my money? How can you say that I made money when I have no money? And so it's really a way to kind of break that down in a more, you know, a little bit more easy to understand format, but also it kind of works the way your mind works, rather than the way an accountant mind works. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I just, you know, making that first like allocation or that first profit distribution is really like, wow, I'm in charge here. You know, you really feel sort of empowered about your business and your finances and where you're going.
And I think you're right. When you talk about creative entrepreneurship, I work with so many freelancers in this industry. And to your point, it's one of those things, it's almost, they could do it. It's not their best use. And they still need to understand it, but they kind of don't. It's one of those, I don't want to. Yeah. And Profit First allows you, or to your point, it is the accelerant that makes you want to know, because it's not as bad as you thought. You know, it's you have a place to go and a way to do it that's that you can follow. It's a paint by numbers approach. Yeah. To do it. Yeah. And you can kind of break it down for folks and, you know, and then there's that sort of light bulb moment. It's like, oh my God, this isn't scary after all. Like, I thought I was always, people always think, oh, I'm bad at math. Oh, I'm bad at numbers. They have this sort of mindset about those kind of things. And so if you can break it down for someone and be like, hey, this is, you know, this is how it's working, and this is, you know, this is where you're at, and that kind of thing. It's like, oh, actually, that's not so bad. You know what I mean? I love that like light bulb moment of when people are like, oh yeah, I can do this. This feels really good. I understand what's going on. So yeah, that's really awesome. Yeah, moving into business ownership, so it's not a hobby, it's a business. Exactly. That's good. That's good. If somebody wants to learn more about Profit First, or working with you at Lang Accounting Services
Mhm.
or getting their taxes done,
Yep.
how should they get in touch with you?
'Tis the season for getting your taxes done. But yeah, so my website is langaccountingservices.com. So LANG accounting services, all spelled out.com. I do have a tab on my website that is dedicated to Profit First, just a little bit more information about what it is, what the process is, how it works, all that kind of thing. I actually also have on my website, you can get the first few chapters of Profit First in PDF form for free. So if you go to the Profit First tab on my website, fill in your email address, and we'll send you the first few chapters of the book for free, so you can get hooked on it like I did. And then for Profit First itself, if you go to profitfirst.com, there's a lot of other information there about that system in general. So
Great. Good. Thank you so much for your time. I
you're
know it is tax season and I was asking a lot to get 30 minutes with you. So I do appreciate it so much. And I will see you soon.
okay. That sounds great. And thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
Absolutely. Thanks for tuning in. See you next week.